Hello, eighth grade. This is Mrs. Politsky, and I have your notes for Chapter 7, Section 2, Mexico's History and Culture. So follow along, jot down what you need. Here we go. We're going to start with talking about the Olmecs. The Olmecs, just so you know, were probably the oldest civilization that we know about within uh, Mexico or even Central America. And what they're noted for are these gigantic stone heads that you see pictured here. Some of these heads can be upwards to maybe 8 foot tall. Uh, and for the most part, a lot of these were probably depicting some of the gods within the Olmec religion. Needless to say, the sculptures would likely have represented rulers or gods. The Mayan, who were another ancient peoples that lived in parts of southern Mexico and Central America, were known for their pyramids, as you see pictured below here. Not only were they building pyramids, but they were also studying astronomy, but not as well as maybe as far as their fame being known for their mathematical skills. And yet the Maya knew something that the Romans didn't know, and that is how to use zero as a placeholder within mathematics. The Mayas also used something known as Vestimal. Vigesimal, I guess, is a numeral system that is based on 20s. And they were also able to count time in units of 20 days. So, needless to say, they were obviously very interested in math, engineering, and things of that nature. Land with different territories and peoples under a single leader is known as an empire. And, there were different empires that were within parts of Mexico and Central America. We mentioned a moment ago about the Olmecs and the Maya. Truth is, they were empires. But probably one of the most famous empires that came out of this region were the Aztecs. And the Aztecs built an empire. For the most part, it was based on kind of a strong leader or a dictator with lots of other nobility. It almost kind of mirrors the European ideals of like feudalism and such. But needless to say, by the time we get around to almost the start of the 1500s, we're going to have other imperial interests that are going to happen in this part of the region. And part of that is because of the age of exploration. A European or Spaniard known as Hernan Cortez entered the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan. When he got there, it was kind of a weird deal. This is going back to a time period right around 1500, and everything kind of lined up in Cortez's favor, if you want to call it that. Uh, at, for some reason, it was a year that the Aztecs had been anticipating the coming of a great god king known as Quetzalcoatl. And supposedly, they've been foretelling this for years on the Aztec calendar. Uh, Quetzalcoatl would be represented as a fair skinned, which obviously Cortez is fair skinned, and bearded, as you can see below, he has a beard, a god who left his people to go east, promising to return in the year 1519. And lo and behold, Cortez shows up in the year 1519, and the Aztec people, for the most part, just allow the Spaniards to kind of come walking into Tenochtitlan, and needless to say, it was very easy for Cortez and his handful of Spaniard conquistadors to come in and conquer this area. Granted, they had a few other things going for them. They had some support of the enemies of the Aztec. They also had some issues with disease that kind of were helping them as well. But needless to say, it's going to be Cortez that's going to be known for conquering the Aztecs. Number 5, once the Spaniards are established within Mexico. They start building missions. Missions were outposts of the Catholic Church. They were established so priests could not only learn the languages of the native people, but also to return uh, by teaching Spanish to the natives and converting them to Catholicism. There's a couple different missions that are pictured here. I do want to talk about this one down here because I realize if you know a little bit about American geography, you'll know that this is actually in the United States. Um, this is actually a mission that is found outside of Tucson, Arizona, but it dates back to the basically the 1600s. So, needless to say, there are missions in places like Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, that all kind of lend themselves back to this period of time, thanks to the Spaniards. And number six, when we talk about independence from the Spaniards, in the year 1810, Mexicans, for the most part, go ahead and they start fighting the Spaniards for their independence. This is going to take on a kind of a little bit of time. There are a number of individuals that are kind of involved in this effort, but the fight for independence is going to end in 1821. Mexico is going to establish themselves as an independent nation, but for the most part, they're going to be dealing with warfare. It's not going to be long after this period of time we get into a dispute that's going to happen over territory that's in present day Texas. And eventually, Texas is going to declare themselves a republic, meaning that they're a separate country. Eventually, they're going to be annexed by the United States. Needless to say, all of this was not necessarily something that the people of Mexico were wanting, and eventually they go to war in 1840 with the United States. Mexico, as a result of losing this war, loses about half of its territory. So, territories that are in present day Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and California now become part of the United States. Anyway, Mexico um, has also had some issues when we talk about its relations with Native Americans or Indians. In Mexico, Indians are identified because they speak an American Indian language and not necessarily Spanish. And so certainly there is that divide that still exists even to this day. Let's continue. And number nine, Mexican families celebrate the Day of the Dead, which is the day after All Saints' Day, by gathering in graveyards to clean and decorate the graves of their loved ones, to set out food and drink. And number 10, some of the Mexican Indians believe survive today because they're deeply rooted within the Indian or Native American culture. Because many Mexican Indians beliefs have common elements with Christian religions, it makes it easy for the two of them to blend together. All right, and number 11, Emiliano Zapata, who lived from 1879 to 1919, was a tenant farmer from South or southern Mexico, but he was also involved in a revolution movement that happened in the early 19 teens. He took up arms with the cry of land and liberty in 1910. Zapata fought for almost a decade for the simple idea that land belonged to the people and not the powerful landowners. He is considered a hero among the native Indian people of Mexico, and revolutionaries fighting for the land reform in Mexico call themselves Zapatists. Number 12, the Virgin of Guadalupe is the patron saint of Mexico, and she is believed by Catholics to have appeared to Juan Diego, a Mexican Indian convert, at the site of a demolished shrine of the Aztec goddess in the year 1531. Her image is believed to have been miraculously imprinted on Juan Diego's garments, which actually hangs in the Basilica of Guadalupe, which this is actually the image of Juan Diego's garment actually under the garment itself is under the frame here in Mexico City, and it's considered to be um, a pilgrimage site for many people who are Roman Catholics. All right, thank you very much.